We'll talk about the history of LARPs in Poland, but not only in Poland. But I'll first give some introduction for like Polish LARPs and how this things evolved, and then we can have a discussion on what we have learned and how the LARPs are now in the verge of the things that were in the past. So that's me. I'm the CEO of WonderLARP, and we are doing a lot of LARPs. We are doing too many LARPs actually. And I was there when Poland started LARPing. I was one of the people who created KPO, the like fantasy RPG group of people, like club, in which it was the biggest one, in which that evolved into something a little bit more global in terms of number of people and also number of things that happened and was happening. We created big conventions. We started a convention called Kapitularz in 1999. It was the first one, and it is continuing today. Of course, I'm not in it anymore because like time issues, and I also had a break for my boring career. So, maybe I'll change this. Yeah. How we discovered LARPs in Poland when there was no internet and there was very limited travel, and there was like the communication between Poland and other LARPers from other countries was extremely limited. We didn't know anything about clubs, about people who are LARPing, and we didn't know what LARP is. So kind of in 1989, Lubelski Group Fantastiki have invented LARP from scratch. So, and we kind of did the same in Łódź, only a little bit later. It's just like we were playing RPGs. We were playing a lot of RPGs actually every day. This was crazy. Now I cannot find 5 people to run Dungeons and Dragons. But then we were playing basically every day. I almost failed my high school because we were playing RPGs. We were playing everything. We were playing Dungeons and Dragons. I started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was 12, so it's quite a long time ago. And then the World of Darkness came. The World of Darkness, the vampire LARPs, the werewolves, the changeling, the mage, and everything. We were playing all of it. And that's why we had to play every day. If you have so many systems and you want to play them, then you need to have time. And we were teenagers, we had time. Then at some point we kind of thought, okay, how about play it live? Like, don't just sit on the couch and talk, but start playing the characters and start being the characters in some enclosed space and start interacting with each other, not just by saying what you are doing, but by doing. So we kind of invented LARPing again, and we didn't know it's called LARP for quite some time, and we started in many different systems that were very World of Darkness was easy to LARP actually. Dungeons and Dragons was more difficult, and it kind of evolved in USA more than in Poland because you needed to have gear and you needed to have like safe and free spaces to run around with things that resemble swords. What we did, we used real swords.
Aluminium.
What?
Aluminium ones.
No, real ones.
Steel.
Steel swords, yes, because the reconstruction scene is very strong in Poland. And like medieval knights and like they are everywhere. We have a lot of knights in Poland because we have 300 castles. And it kinda went in this way that we started dressing up as knights, as some medieval people, and we started fighting with real swords. This, of course, wasn't a really good idea. Not just injuries was the problem, but also police was the problem.
What?
Yeah. There was a situation where we had a larp, where people started fighting with real swords on Piotrkowska Street in the middle of the city. And, well, woo! And they went to the police station. I wasn't one of them, but I was there. So it happened, and then we thought, okay, now maybe this is not the greatest idea. So we stopped trying to play Dungeons and Dragons this way. We started playing Vampire the Masquerade, and that was the first in Łódź. It was the first real LARP that with Vampire the Masquerade. We asked Inka on Moniuszki 4A in Poland to rent us, to give us space, not to rent because we didn't have any money. We were teenagers. So we asked them to give us space, and they kinda agreed and gave us undergrounds below the Inka, and it was there huge. Yeah, huge, cluttered with a lot of crap, but it was perfect. It was great. We created an Elysium. We created like a Camarilla kingdom there, with a prince, of Łódź, and it's the other vampires that like basically fought for power. and it kind of catched up. I should have changed this slide. And we kind of catched up. There was a lot of people. We had a LARP with 100 people in the 90s. And then we decided to, okay, maybe others are doing the same. And yes, they did. So probably also in Lublin this happened, that we created Poland by Night. Poland by Night, because this was Łódź by Night in our city, and in Lublin it was Lublin by Night. So we created Poland by Night, a great LARP, a game where all the games in cities had this basically the same overarching plot. They connected themselves, and there was like people like traveling around the city with the same characters to have some different adventures. Yeah, and it went for years actually. I think until 2005, it was like probably the same. Was run the same way. The scenography was basically non-existent. We just played where we could find the like good place without trespassers, without people who were looking at the guys who are painted white with smokings and trying to be scary. So. We tried to hide from the normal world, and we kind of didn't learn. We didn't have any safety mechanics. There wasn't, basically the only mechanic that was used there is rock, paper, scissors for fighting. Which right now is funny, but everybody was using it by then. And after years and years have passed, the vampire and the basic World of Darkness scene have diminished. It's kind of stopped being interesting and stopped being funny, and got more and more dangerous and more like there was like involvement of a lot of emotions because people got attached to their characters, and there wasn't any consent in a lot of things. So there was situations when three powerful vampires came, like got you and just killed you, and it wasn't fun because it started to be a game, and role-playing game have the first part. It's the most important. The role-playing, the game is just addition. So I kind of stopped playing, and like I said, I did break for my boring career. And when I had my boring career, the world has evolved a lot. And when I returned, I've seen that everything has changed, everything. And let's try. Yeah. So there was conventions, and apparently conventions started to have Larpy blocks, and people started to play small LARP forums, which wasn't even existing in the 90s and the beginning of 2000. We didn't know that you can play small LARP forums. The chamber LARPs in the 90s didn't exist. We didn't invent them. We kind of took the rules from role-playing game campaigns and basically transplanted them to the LARPs. So if you are playing role-playing games campaigns, it takes years sometimes. And we did the same with LARPs. So we didn't know that you can basically go to a LARP, play for 4 hours, and you're done. Because we didn't see what a LARP can give in 4 hours, how your character can develop. Nobody in Poland have thought about that in the 90s. But the world has evolved with the beginning of the internet and with the opening of Poland to other world, joining the European Union. I think it was like one of the most important parts in Larpy, because people started traveling and started learning. And Scandinavian School of LARPing started to show itself in Poland too. And I think this was the enticing moment in LARPs, that the people have opened their eyes and seen that you can do better, you can do different. And you can get from LARPs a lot more emotions than just anger, hate, and suffering. The suffering stayed. The suffering stayed, and apparently it's now one of the most popular things that you can get from LARPs. Which isn't my favorite. I like Type 1 for LARPs. My Type 2 LARPs, like, life in Poland is already very hard. So I don't want to like get more of it in LARPs. So, but apparently in Scandinavia, like Norway, Denmark, everyone wants to die in cold water. And I don't judge. I am amazed by the amount of emotions that you can get from LARP right now. Because in the 90s, it was just not possible. Nobody thought about that. And also the way that LARPs started to be created. The LARPs started to be produced. There was a real writing process. There was a real production process. And LARPs started to be similar to theater in some ways, to dramas. And at least in Poland, it evolved like a lot into stories to tell and emotions to get and find in LARPs. So, yeah, and also security and consent and things like that have started happening, actually. So people started to understand that being hit in real life is not nice. And if you want to get hit in LARP, then it's fine, but it needs to be communicated with the person that is being hit and the person that is hitting you. And that was also very, very interesting that people started calibrating. And this is like the evolution into something like completely different, completely the small, like the theater forms, I would say. So going forward, yeah, what we have learned. We have learned that the LARPs have went from terrain games, from games in dungeons that didn't have any structure, didn't have any rules, didn't have any security, then like into something. I know I'm boring.
No,
It's fine.
I'm just trying to read and the amount of information on the floor.
Yeah, and they went to something that is art. That's how I now perceive LARPs. That LARPs is a form of art, and nobody will convince me that it's different. And the players are part of the creation. They're not customers. They are just part of the creation process because they need to be. Because LARPs now tell a story, and this story, and players are part of the story. They are basically telling the story, and creators like create a framework for the players. Like it's for me, and it's also a form of education. In many emotional education, education per se. A lot of LARPs are now educating us about a lot of important stuff. A lot of like about I don't know. Sorry. About things that we wouldn't learn if we weren't interested in this particular activity. And yeah, and also the community. LARPs started to be a big community that co-create the whole thing. It's not only that there is a group of people who are creating LARPs. Now it's an international endeavor in many ways. So, like Wonder LARP, for instance, we are creating LARPs with most of the international organizations right now in Europe, and we are creating like very big stories. So it started to be also a cultural exchange, which Lucky will say something later about, and a platform for learning, for exchanging your experience. And the last thing that I'm also caring about is LARPs started to join mainstream. It started to be mainstream, and people who never touched RPGs and even never heard about fantasy or something like that, they are started to be interested in LARPs because they feel that they are missing something in their lives that they cannot find by normal means, and LARP can give it to them, because the LARP can give emotions that they couldn't feel instead. And that was like the thing about dying in cold water. And